So good afternoon. My name is Sandra Sheffer. I'm the president of the Democratic Women's Club of Greater Broward. And I'm here this afternoon and I have the pleasure of talking to Santiago Vazquez. He's one of the candidates that's in the race for Broward County Sheriff's Office, right? A lot of people think it's only two people in that race, right? Well, there's more than two candidates in that race. And so today we're going to talk to Santiago Vazquez. I'm going to give him an opportunity for him to lay out his platform for you so people can be aware that there's more than two candidates in that race and they can find out what it is and what his vision is for Broward County. No, really, like a lot of people think it's only two candidates in the race. So
yes,
we definitely need to let them know that it's more. And so tell us about yourself and then we'll talk more about what it is that you're trying to do and what your vision is for the Broward Sheriff's Office.
Well, thank you very much, Sandra, for having me here today. I greatly appreciate you and everyone in the organization and everyone that's watching today. Yes, we do have several other candidates, but I am the only candidate with positive change. You know, we as the members of this community deserve a sheriff that brings everyone together and leads with integrity, accountability, and the ability to lead, hearing the diverse voices of Broward County. The office of the sheriff cannot be denigrated by scandals, questions of integrity, negative associations, and he and she must lead by example. and it's important that we do. I have served honorably over 23 years. My community here as a sergeant with the Broward Sheriff's Office. I was at active duty in the United States Army as a combat soldier. And I am honored to have been awarded the Gold Cross for my actions for putting my life in jeopardy to protect those citizens here in Broward County and my fellow deputies. I also have a certificate of leadership from an accredited university, and I'm ready to lead the Broward Sheriff's Office into a positive change for the department from day one. I, along with the department, will be accountable. That's important to every citizen and in the county. And I will implement the changes, including independent oversight, the CART program, which is very important, improved training for our deputies, better allocations for budgeting, regular mental health evaluations, and improve the images of our law enforcement in our county. I, unlike the others in this election, am not owned by special groups or big donors and affected by questionable integrities or actions that would disqualify me as a police officer, but disqualify any citizen from most types of employment, much less as a sheriff of Broward County. Questions of leadership, ability, or even associated with some individuals as the three opponents, and we don't have the money like them. So I'm compelled to speak out and unfortunate lapses of integrity because as sheriff, I must not only speak against injustice, but I must also act against it. And I am and will be accountable to you, the citizens of Broward County, in which I am so proud to have served for over 23 years.
Right. So just to let the people know, so if Santiago ends up being the Democratic nominee, because his election is August 18, 2020, and if he ends up on the November ballot, there's going to be a Republican candidate on that ballot, and there's also going to be a no party affiliation candidate on the ballot on November the 3rd, right? So
correct.
Right. So that's just so people understand. So you have to vote for him if he's your choice on August the 18th, 2020. As a matter of fact, if you requested your vote by mail ballots, they're already out, so you can start voting now. Early voting is going to be from August 8th through August the 15th. So you can vote during early voting. And then the last opportunity you have to vote for him is August the 18th, 2020 by 7 p.m., right? So that's the last date. So, so now.
And I'm the last name on the docket. So whenever you see sheriff, go to the last one. That's it. Last but not least.
Right, because I think it's alphabetical, right? So that's how you ended up in that spot. But
yes, we're alphabetical.
So let's talk about this. Why would you want to put all your business in the street and run for this office? Because the politics in Broward County is getting just kind of different. So why is it that you wanted to do this? Like, what call did you hear that made you want to take on this huge task? Important,
Yes.
but huge.
Well, first of all, I want to say that here in Broward County, I have served Broward County for 23 years, and I love Broward County. The people, when I first came here, they used to call it Fort Lickerdale.
Yeah, right. So are you one of those people from New York, but still
Yes.
from New York, even though you've lived here more of your life than in New York?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I came down here as soon as I got out of the military, and I went to the police academy here, and I joined the Oakland Park Police Department. I was the first Puerto Rican police officer ever hired with the City of Oakland Park Police Department, and it was incredible because there were so many barriers here in Oakland Park, and there were so many people that spoke Spanish, but we didn't have a representation of officers that way. And serving here was one of the best things that I've done here. But the reason why I am coming out here, because I raised my kids here as well, here in Broward County, but I noticed that when I was working here, the corruption, the politicizing of the sheriff's office was horrible, and it was causing the safety, the security, and the citizens' rights to be at risk. So that is why that is bringing me back in here, because police work has not changed in decades. My father was a victim of police brutality in 1974, and I saw that. And when I was young, I was 5 years old. At that time, I said the same thing. I don't want to be a police officer. But my father said, you know what, son? I want you to be the police officer that you want to be. However, I don't want you to be the abusive police officer like those are.
Right.
And that's what inspired me to be that police officer. Because my father would say, be that person that imagine that person that you're hitting or you're striking or you're doing something to is me. So that's why I've always respected my community. I've always put everything to my community. And I wanted loyalty, and I gave loyalty first. I gave respect first, so I can get that respect. This was my weapon.
Yes. So you worked in Oakland Park. How long were you an officer in Oakland Park?
I started in 1994, and we merged with the Broward Sheriff's Office in 2000. And then I retired in 2016 to run against Scott Israel.
So you stayed, so you were at Oakland Park from 94 until 2000 when they merged with BSO?
Yes.
Okay. So from the time you started in that community to the time that it was taken over by BSO, what, if any, changes did you notice because you did a city-ran police department and the sheriff's office? Like were there any differences in the way things were operating? And if so, what are they? And what would you take from either one and implement into Broward Sheriff's Office?
Well, thank you very much. The small city police department is always good because you always have that togetherness inside the police department. And you start, because you're not going from district to district, you start to know your community. You start walking out there, talking to the community, and community relations is very important. And I've always stressed that, especially within the city of Oakland Park, because we used to have community relations officer, which I was one, and we used to ride with priests or with other people that wanted to ride with the police. It was a very well programmed. That broke the barriers between our community and our police officers, because the people knew what police officers dealt with, and it was easy to communicate with the citizens. As we were the city of Oakland Park, yes, we had our issues, which were finances, and that's what caused us to go over to the Broward Sheriff's Office. However, it still remained the same. We had better technology when we were the city of Oakland Park. We had better resources. We had better ability to police our own city. When we merged over to the Broward Sheriff's Office, yes, we were a large agency. And we still had that small group of deputies working in that area, but we lost a sense of contact because there were so many deputies moving in and out of the district. And that caused a problem because when you're a police officer and you get to know your district and you get to know your people and you're saying, hello, Sandra, good morning. And she's like, hello, then that creates something that if, God forbid, there's an emergency, they call you. They have the confidence in the police. We've lost that as a large agency.
So why do you think people were going in and out of Oakland Park when it was taken over by BSO? Why do you think that was happening?
Well, they do that for financial budget, for better budgeting the district. They would remove senior officers out of there and put young police officers there because they're lowering their salaries, of course. And those police officers would go to a different district that would have more money in that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right.
So we learned something today. Most people probably didn't know that. The reason why you get a new cop is because, the cop gets too expensive, right?
Yes, actually,
because you're right. You're supposed to you get salary increases. You have more experience, so you should get more pay. You get paid more for improved skill sets. So we all understand that. All right. So what is it that you want to do as a sheriff of BSO? Like what is your vision for the office? What is the office going to look like under Santiago Vazquez administration?
Well, with
You're going to go in and fire everybody and start all over?
Absolutely not. We have great men and women at the sheriff's office. And that's one thing that I can agree with the current sheriff, that we do have great men and women. We have great experience there. The only problem that we have is poor leadership from the top. Okay. Unlike the incumbent sheriff, he just came here last year because he was appointed by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. That was it. He was only in Broward for the money. That's what it is. Because he had his business in South Carolina or in the Carolinas. So he was appointed. And anyone.
So he wasn't even living in Broward. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt. So he wasn't even living in Broward County when he got the job?
No, he didn't.
Wasn't he like an officer in Coral Springs or something like that?
No, he was an officer in Coral Springs.
Mm-hmm.
However, they found out that he was being less than truthful there, and they advised him to leave the department. And then he left the department to go to North Carolina and start his business. That's where the issues are. And we have a lot of people here that are supporting him, but they're the Republican party, pretty much, that supported him. Why? Because the governor wanted to also get elected at that time. So of course they're going to make favors. And I talk to you this way so that people understand that
they want to hear the truth, and they want to know what it is, right? Because I believe he's registered as a Democrat, so he wasn't always a Democrat.
Correct. He wasn't. And remember, he got appointed by the governor, okay? Him and his affiliations with Pollock and Andrew Pollock and Al Pollock, who is also running for Broward County Sheriff. And, that whole thing was a part of a bad idea. Let's put it that way. Okay. So the governor selected him out of a favor to replace Scott Israel, who we all know had issues and problems with Broward County. And it wasn't just MSD that caused this problem. There were many, many other issues that we had here in Broward County that resulted to him being removed. So
we'll talk about that.
Yes. So the whole thing is that the Republican governor selected Gregory Toney to be the interim sheriff here, when in fact it should have been me, because I was the other candidate with Scott Israel. Okay, so we have other issues that it could have been, but the fact is that when the governor appointed him, he was not living here. He was not living here. He was, in fact, a Republican in South Carolina, came here, and then applied to be a Democrat here, and that was the whole system. And it just did not go good. You know, the issues that we have here are because of the poor leadership, and because Gregory Tony came here and did not know Broward County. The only people that he can select are the people from Broward County leadership here. But what he failed to do is failed to educate, failed to monitor, and failed to counsel the leaders that we have here today. He appointed some of his friends into top positions where he shouldn't have done that. This is not about nepotism or anything like that. It should be about the accountability of Broward County and the citizens of Broward County. And that's what I bring. I will bring accountability, transparency that we've never seen before. We've never seen the transparency that I'm going to bring. Why? Because I am going to bring mental health professionals here to our agency, hire mental health professionals. We're going to hire more social workers for our streets. We're going to make sure that we hire teachers, believe it or not, teachers to come to our agency, because we need to work with our youth. We need to make sure that our youth are having a mentor out in the street, and they see the same people that are helping them in school, protecting them in school, also be out on the street. We're going to make sure that we put an anti-bullying program here. We're going to make sure that with our anti-bullying program that we have coping skills and mentoring and education for our youth, and a elderly unit and an illegal gun unit removal unit for that, which is very important for our streets, because as you see, we've had 10 homicides here in the last 2 weeks here in Broward County, and it's not stopping.
Yes. So a lot of what you're talking about, it sounds like some of the things that people want from, you know, on May 25th, 2020, we saw George Floyd lose his life on video, right? And that just sparked a movement. And it sparked a movement where a lot of people are demanding a lot of change with law enforcement. The Minneapolis decided to get rid of, you know, their police department, and they're just going to revamp it. I know Camden, New Jersey did the same thing. They did this more for like financial reasons because they just couldn't afford it anymore.
Right.
You know, they just had a lot of budget issues, and it ended up being like the best thing for them, right? They got rid of those guys, and they let everybody, you know, the ones who were there that wanted to come back, they allowed them to reapply. I think they ended up taking like maybe 2/3 of the people that were there before, and the other ones, you know, they didn't want to see the new ideas or what was going on, and they left, right? So some of what you're talking about is part of what people want to see happen in law enforcement. And I'm going to switch that up a little bit. I think police officers are responsible for just a little too much, right? And some of it
Yes.
is beyond their skill set, you know. And you don't want to be the jack of all trade and the master of none, right? So
exactly,
they just got their hands in too many pockets, right? When I first started doing this, I actually spoke to one of the PD candidates first, and she was talking about how like they arrest homeless guys and their bonds are like $25, and I'm like, so y'all got a whole police officer, like not even one, like two of them that's driving in a cop car with a homeless guy. They're gonna put him in jail. His bond gonna be $25, right? Then so not before that. So now you have the processing person at the jail. The person's going through the correction system. How many people touch this guy with a $25 bond before he goes and even see a judge and deal with pretrial? So you're expending like thousands of dollars to deal with a dude that was sleeping on a bench with a $25 bond that he probably still can't pay because if he was sleeping on a bench, so he doesn't have $25, right? So
right.
what if you know, what can you do? And I know you law enforcement officers, you have to follow the law, and maybe there's an issue with the law. But what could we do differently, right? What would a BSO office under your administration do differently that we don't spend citizens don't spend thousands of dollars on a homeless guy with a $25 bond?
Right. Well, first,
I said a lot. I know I did. I'm sorry.
no, and I understand. And you know what? I love your passion, and that's important for our community because just like you have that fire, that's the same fire that I have because we should prevent victimless crimes. How can we do that? First of all, we need resources. We have homeless people out there that need help. We need to help them and bring them to locations. Right now, they're going to end this Friday. They're going to end homeless people from the hotel.
Oh, I thought it
Why?
was so they extended it from Monday because I know they had gotten a letter that they were supposed to be out by 11 o'clock on Monday. So they gave them a few more days to
Oh
Friday.
no, by Monday. I'm sorry.
Oh,
My
okay.
days are backwards.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yes.
We don't know.
But
We've been in the house for 5 months. We don't know what day it is.
yes, I know, right? So by Monday, they want to remove them. This is something that should not be. Listen, our politicians need to get together. Our sheriffs need to get together. State attorneys, defense attorneys. That's what I'm going to be working with. The defense attorneys. I can work with the state attorney, but I got to come up with a plan with the defense attorney and talk to them and be like, listen, what can we do in lieu of arresting them and bringing them to jail? What resources can we do? Where can we allot this money that we're spending for the budget for the jail to go into a resource where we can home the homeless, where we can feed them, where we can educate them, where we can mentor them, coach them, give them jobs. Listen, we are important. That's what I say to them. Because when I see them, I tell them, hey, you are important to me. Tell me what you need. Tell me what I can do for you. I tell that to the felons that are coming out of our jails that I work with. I say, tell me what you need. Tell me what you want. We have to work together. If we as politicians don't work together, or we as police officers don't work together, if we as people don't work together, the only thing that we're going to create is hate, and we're going to create more issues, more problems, more excuses, and definitely more hate for each other. And
Right.
that's what we cannot do. Right now, there's a big dividing line between police officers and its people. And we need to have compassion. We need to have fairness for everybody, a fair and impartial treatment for everyone. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm sheriff of Broward County, because we need to make sure we got $1 billion budget, almost $1 billion budget.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me that out of that $1 billion budget, we can't take out $25 million and put that into resources to help, and then the school board do the same, and everyone else do the same. Know where your money's going. Put accountability. There's school board members that are crying out here because they haven't got a raise, but yet their administrators have. We have county commissioners earning over $300,000. They keep getting raises, but our poor people, but our homeless people are still in our streets.
Mm-hmm.
No decisions have been made for that. No sheriff has made a decision for that. They don't worry about the community. They're worried more about the PSB. What can we do to get more fancier cars, to get better equipment, to get a training facility that costs $30 million? It's not up yet. There's no plans on it. So whenever the interim sheriff tells you, oh yeah, we built this, no, we didn't. It's not even, there's no plans on it yet. They're talking about it.
Oh, they don't even have an architect yet?
No. The real-time crime TV is not there. It works for some areas and not all areas. Not all schools are covered. Don't let him fool you. Tell him, let's see it. Okay. Tell him to give you a tour of what he's talking about. And I guarantee you, he can't do it. Okay. So, unlike that, that's the money that we need for our community. Right now, we're going through the COVID-19. Yeah. We have police officers, employees at the Broward Sheriff's Office that are sick, our communications department. And it's sorry to say, because they don't get any recognition. I want to say right now that they deserve the best. They're enclosed in a small department. They work together within feet of each other. They're the 911 systems that are taking your calls. okay? And they don't have the protection. They don't have the support. They don't have anything that this sheriff is doing for them. They need that. They need a voice. But yet, if they say anything, this sheriff, he's a very vindictive sheriff. He will go ahead and persecute anyone in that communications office for saying something like that. That's why I say we need transparency. We need our employees to say something. You need to listen. I've been there for 23 years at the Broward Sheriff's Office. He's been there 19 months. Shame on him for not taking care of our first responders, their family, our community, and our politicians.
And I have to tell you that my brother was a 911 operator. He worked for BSO and he left. And the young lady that died earlier this year, he worked with her and he knows her. Yeah, he knows her. And I believe her mother also passed, and she died from COVID-19. And I believe her mother also passed away from COVID-19. And she had like 4 young children. So my brother worked in the office with her and he was very familiar with it. And he's like, I completely understand how it happens, because one thing is like when they're changing shifts, it's just like the one person leaving, the next one comes and get on the phone without, time in between to clean the equipment and do all of these different type of things. And it's in a small area. So I'm so happy to hear that you're going to take that group of workers of BSO into consideration and do something to improve their working conditions. Because I have like firsthand experience of a relative that worked in that situation, and he knew the young lady that passed away.
Right, and that's the negligence of our interim sheriff, Tony. That's the negligence that he has. And yet he says that he has done it. Listen, right now we can hire nurses that are not employed. Right now we can contract them, put them at every district, at every single district, put them out there, have a cleaning team so that this way our dispatchers don't have to do that. They can have professionals do that, come in. It only takes a second. We can do that.
Yeah.
But he's failing them.
I think you can.
Absolutely. And we can do that at every district, every officer coming in, especially for our jail. We need nurses that are unemployed right now. We can hire them to be outside our jails and monitor everyone. Take that. Let's utilize what the negative part of this COVID-19. Let's change it to a positive image for the Broward Sheriff's Office. It's not only about giving turkeys on Thanksgiving to get votes. It's about protecting our community. It's about protecting our men and women that are serving our community. And that's what I'm very strong and adamant, and I want the best for our communications, our fire department, our first responders. And it needs to be said out there, because the divide, it's really hurting us. And I'm the only candidate that has a plan. I'm the only candidate that has a plan. No other candidate has a plan on the COVID-19, what we need to do, how we need to do it, mental health, school anti-bullying, budgeting. No one else. Yeah. Ask them, you'll find out.
All right, so I started off with the George Floyd example, and then I ended up with the homeless, because that's one of the, because this is all about that whole defunded, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before we go into that, we got to talk about the training of officers, right? Like we got to, because I did say that they're trying to do too much. So the training of officers in the video, we saw that police officer put his knee on the neck of this guy for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Is there anything in the training manual that allows a police officer, I'm sure it don't let them do it for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, but is that a tactic that officers are trained to do in the first place?
First, as a human, you should not do that. Point simple. And my condolences go out to the Floyd family for this. And I would like to say that the Broward Sheriff's Office, even though we've had our issues with training and we've had our issues with this tactic, we don't use that. It's very rare that a police officer does that. But when you have to control somebody instantly, and there's a point where you have to restrain someone, the neck and the head area is not a portion of where we utilize. The only thing that we utilize were pressure points. That's what we're trained on. And that's where the lack of training comes from with with the interim sheriff. He's teaching MMA training for our police officers, and that's a tactic that is used in MMA.
Well, like fighting, you mean like the guys that be in the cage fighting each other, like with throwing kicks and stuff? That's what you're talking
Yes.
about? Ooh.
Yes, that's exactly what he's training. We've had police officers get concussions. We've had police officers go out on sick because they've injured themselves, on workers' compensation because they've injured themselves. This is training that should not happen. Listen, you want training? Learn to de-escalate the situation.
Are people in Broward County that bad that you need MMA fighters on the police force? I'm like, I didn't know the city I live in was this bad that we gotta have like a bunch of ninjas and kickboxers as police officers. What is this?
Yes, and I know, and we have to.
I don't mean to make light of it because I mean this is a very serious conversation, but I'm just thinking I'm dumbfounded that that this is what you're training people to do when most of the calls are not to like serious violence. I mean, you guys get a lot of foolish calls because, like I said, I had a brother that was a 911 operator, and they would get a call like, "Yo, there's this guy walking down the street, and we don't think he belongs here." We don't need an MMA fighter to go on that scene. You know what I mean? Like, because that's just not going to end well for anybody, right? So
right.
Why are we doing this?
Because we need to hire people with compassion, people from our own community, people with mixed diversities that know that mixed diversities and know that we, and I say we because we are the community. We have Black, white, Hispanics, LGBTQ community that some people just don't understand.
And even within that Black, I don't mean to cut you off, but even within that Black, you have a lot going on too, right? Because my parents are Haitian. I was born in the Bahamas. I have a lot of friends that are from a lot of the other islands. So, because, a police officer can walk on the scene and they see somebody Black and they think they're American, the person doesn't speak English, and they think that, they're getting mad because they're not answering them, but it's a language barrier. I mean, dude don't know what you're talking about, right? And
exactly.
And he doesn't understand what you're saying. So we don't need MMA fighters like in a situation like that where it's like really just a communication issue and not that the person is not trying to listen to what the officer is saying to them.
Right. And that's where the training comes into play because the police officers lack training. They only have 8 hours or 16 hours of mental health training. They have a 40-hour block a year for training on sexual harassment, mixed diversity, and other training. But it's only 40 hours a year to keep your certification. That's not good enough. And then they expect a police officer to come out here and deal with someone that has mental health. You don't know that someone has mental health until you evaluate them. Mm-hmm. Those police officers themselves cannot evaluate anyone. But yet immediately when you're taking medication, some of the times medication can give you a type of violence or if they turn violent, and then the police officer treats them as criminals and then they start arresting them. When in fact, if you had a professional out there, they can tell you, hey, listen, are you taking any medication? What's going on? There's a difference between someone that's professional, someone that is a mental health professional, a social worker. That's what we need out in our streets. Police officers are not trained for that. That's what we need to hire. And that's what I will bring to the Broward Sheriff's Office, which is well needed. It's been needed for decades and it hasn't been there. And now that I've been saying it and I've been pushing it, as your next sheriff, that's the first thing I'm going to do within my first 100 days.
Right. And the other thing I always talk about, you talked about people with mental illness. I have a daughter that's on the autism spectrum, right?
Yes.
And, and if you look at her, you can't tell, because she just look like she cute and that's it, right? But she's on the spectrum. So she has like, certain deficiencies or whatever. And I remember I was getting pulled over and getting a ticket one time and she started freaking out. And I had to tell her, listen, my daughter's on the spectrum. You got to do something about your lights and all of that because this situation is going to get like, ridiculous real quick because she can't process, she has sensory issues. And then we also had a situation in North Miami Beach, I believe, where, a caretaker, and the cop ended up shooting the guy, when he was trying to, deal with this. And in terms of now we have like 1 in 59 kids that are diagnosed with autism. So these kids are going to grow up, right? So we definitely need to do more than 40 hours of training to deal with the different type of populations that are coming up. Mental illness is one of them. She's not considered mentally ill. well, she has a neurological disorder, right? But police officers, I'm just saying that they definitely need to have a certain level of training and a different level of training to, be able to size up a situation before they go pulling out their gun and killing someone with special needs, because they really can't understand your commands. And even if they hear it, they don't process it the same way because of, a diagnosis that they have. And again, if you look at her, you can't tell, but that's her truth. You understand?
Right, exactly. And that's something that I also say. We have police officers that have children with special needs. And that's something that I'm also looking at, because I personally know several dispatchers that have children that have special needs, and she fosters them, okay? And God forbid she catches the COVID-19, okay? And she passes on the line of duty. Who's going to take care of these special needs kids? Mm-hmm. They're going to stay by themselves. They go to the state. What I'm trying to do for our employees is, and for our legislators, so that this way they can start understanding that special needs children need special attention, mm-hmm. not only now, but when the caretaker passes. Mm-hmm. And that's very important, because we think of them now that they're here with us, but God forbid something happens, to the caretaker. Who's going to take care of them? Where are they going to go? What funds, what money are they going to get? So I want the pension of the deputy or of the employee to go straight to that to that person, that child, or that the person with special needs, so that this way they can contain and continue living with their pension. So that's something that I'm looking at doing myself, and hopefully our legislators will work with me on that.
And that'll be greatly, it would definitely be greatly appreciated, because that's definitely a need and a training that we need to have. So you're gonna get mental health people on board working for BSO to deal with those issues. You're gonna try to find housing, or at least some sort of alternative to taking homeless people, to jail. Domestic violence situations are the ones that's kind of tricky. So you do need a police officer on a scene like that. But we definitely, and I think that whole defunding is more about finding a way to reform the police department. But I heard that you guys more than just deal with police. You're in charge of the fire department. You're in charge of the jails. You're in charge of part of children's and family. I mean, your hands are in so many pots, like I said. So what is it? What kind of improvements can you bring to the fire department? Because I also heard that they have a diversity issue there, and there's a lot of like grandpas and papas and their kids, family members working at the fire department, and other people can't seem to get in because it's 3 generations working at the fire department. What, if anything, can you do about that as a sheriff of Broward County?
Well, that's a very important question, because I will tell you, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to recruit deputies with compassion, temperament, and understanding. That's the first thing. And I'm also going to hire, we've had issues with CPS. If you remember, let's go back with the past sheriff. We've had children missing from CPS.
Which past year? We had a couple, because I've lived in Broward since 2001. So when you say past, you mean the immediate past sheriff, or one of the ones that got indicted, or like somebody else? Who are we talking about? This is reminding me of Chicago politics. I went to college in Chicago. There was all kinds of crazy things happening. I was like, well, I thought, we didn't do this around here, but we starting to have some problems in Broward. So which sheriff are you talking about when you're saying the past sheriff?
Okay, so the issues that we have here in Broward County started in 1994 when Ken Jenny, he was a sheriff. He was arrested and he was removed from office. We had him replaced by Al Lamberti, who had issues with the Rothstein deal. Okay, and many of his deputies were arrested. Then he lost, and Scott Israel won. And Scott, of course, had issues with CPS and fire and jail, escaped prisoners, and MSD schools and elderly, and there was many other issues. Airport shooting, mass shootings. He's the only sheriff with 2 mass shootings in his record. But then he was removed from office, and now we have a Republican-appointed sheriff who lied on his applications, that he used LSD, who has controversy of having pictures and photos and this honest applications out there and photos that should not be out there, and a lot of controversy.
So
And
if you win, are you going to be able to keep your job? Like, that's what people want to know. Are you going to be able to keep your job for 4 years?
yes, you know why? Because the first thing is, I'm going to put the right people in place, starting from me. I have the dedication. I have the honesty. I have the integrity that we're going to move forward. Yes, we've had issues in Broward County. And as you know, Broward County is very corrupt. It was very corrupt. Okay. And we've had politicians that if you didn't listen to them, they want to burn you. Okay. And I have the Gold Cross, for saving people's lives out there. So I'm dedicated to my community. I want to make sure that the issues that we have at the fire department, to answer your question, the issues that we have at the fire department, I want to make sure.
I'm sorry.
I want to make sure that we hire the correct members out there. We're going to start putting a recruitment, like an auxiliary program out there for them, so that this way we can hire from our diverse groups. We can make sure that we hire from our communities, Blacks, Latinos, people from the Bangladesh community, all over. But we also have to limit, and this is the monopoly that the Broward Sheriff's Office has. We also have to stop the manipulation of hiring family members as well. And there's plenty of that in our rank structure, okay? And when I say that, yes, the sheriff is in charge of the fire, the police, the jail, CPS, court services, Port Everglades, and the airport.
And the crime lab too, right?
Say it again?
The crime lab?
And the crime lab, yes. Which, these are issues that I'm gonna say. As you see, our past sheriff, Scott Israel, has failed us. He has failed us tremendously. We've lost our accreditation for the crime lab, for CPS. We lost our accreditation for law enforcement. We lost our accreditation for our jail at one time, okay? These are the issues that we have here. Why? Because he wanted to make sure that his voting was top priority. His community relations, which were based for him, and it was based on money, receiving money, getting money for his campaign, and making sure that he gets elected. This is what we're not going to do anymore. We need to make this into a civil service department, and we need to go through testing. We need to go through our proper background investigations. We need to hire from our community. We need to hire veterans. When I say veterans, I'm talking about United States Army veterans. We don't hire them. We hire very little. And that's the first person that has loyalty to you. And I've always said that, as a veteran myself, and I fought in combat, I will tell you that the dedication is there. And for certain soldiers, there is no color. You're going to wear green and you go through that door with everybody. And that's the love that you get. So right now, the sheriffs have failed us, all of them. And they have failed us for profit. They have failed us because they're looking into their own benefit. Sheriff Tony just did a contract with a company for blood kits, okay? That's a lot of money that went to his own company, okay? This is the corruption that goes on. Yes, okay? And it's shameful that we have other members, other politicians that are supporting him, that are, from school board members and commissioners that say, yes, we're going to support him, but yet they know that he's doing this. They know the corruption. Where's the where's the public corruptions unit at this? Where are they investigating? Why isn't that they are investigating this and any other members that are doing this? This is our taxpayers' dollars. This is not the accountability that Broward County should have. That's what I'm bringing into to Broward County. As your sheriff, I'm going to have transparency. I'm going to make sure that we hire from our community. I'm going to make sure that we hire different members of our community. Give every single member of our community a portion of that hiring. You know, I used to like when we had oh my God, what is it called? I forgot what it was called, but you would have to hire a certain amount of Blacks and Latinos and I'm sorry.
It's not. You might be looking for the word quotas or something like that. Is that?
No, it's not quotas.
Okay.
Affirmative action. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So we right now in this time, we're going to have to need something like that for the Broward County Sheriff's Office. We're going to have to start hiring people and say, okay, because our community is 26% Black, 26%, then that's the amount that we need in our communities.
And I assure you, you will find qualified companies and agencies that are run by people of color and women and transgender and LGBTQ members that will be able to satisfy those contracts. I was talking to another candidate and they told me that you guys have one company that service all of the vehicles for BSO every month. I'm like, are you kidding me? You need to spread that wealth. There's no way one person should be doing all of that. That's insane to me. But you know, I hope
exactly.
for the guys that's going to change that, because that sounds crazy. It's too many people out here that need to eat that one person shouldn't have like such a huge contract, right?
Exactly. We have tow companies that get paid from the Broward County Sheriff's Office millions of dollars, but then when you crash your car or get it towed, they charge the person to go get it. It doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't, see, there's so many things that doesn't make sense here in Broward County. We're not having accountability. And just as a reminder that the past administration, and that's including Al Pollack, who's also running for Broward County Sheriff. He was part of the system as well, okay? He was Scott Israel's colonel, okay? He was an appointed colonel by Scott Israel. And they made up policies and procedures and dealt with this contract, which is still there today. We need to reevaluate our contracts. We need to reevaluate the people that are leaders. Are they for the community or are they in it for their pockets? Are they in it for themselves? And that's what I will totally get rid of. We need to do it for our community, which is very important. You know, bring back the honesty, bring back the love into our agency. Have our agency the most respected as it was once before Gregory Tony, before Scott Israel, and before Al and Al Pollack, Al Lamberti and Ken Jenny. We were honestly respected. You get anywhere and they would go, "Oh, you're from the Broward County Sheriff's Office? Wow, you guys made cops, right?" Yes. Yeah. Remember that? So that's the thing. But Israel, Tony, Pollack, they're all backed by paid big time Republicans, and I am not. That's why I don't take any money from big donors, so I can make these changes. And not worry about owing anyone any favors.
Any favors, right? Okay. So the other thing that I want to talk about is that and I know some of the candidates have said that they would do something to like this. If a police officer notices one of their fellow officers, maybe using a little bit too much force or doing something that's probably maybe unlawful, and they wanted to report it, right? I heard that there's a lot of backlash. I'm not in law enforcement, so I don't know. They're afraid to do it. It's a lot of backlash. There's all kind of consequences. I mean, the most I know is, like, I remember there was a state trooper who had given like a police officer a speeding ticket, and she caught like holy hell for it, right? So like, if there was officers that wanted to report, would you create some sort of safe space for them to be able to do that, in order for you to get rid of, like, if there's a bad officer in the department, to get rid of them? How would you protect officers that wanted to come forward and maybe complain about a fellow officer that did something that may be inappropriate or that's not in line with the goals and that you have for your sheriffs?
Well, the answer to your question is yes. Yes, there is problems here at the Broward Sheriff's Office, as it is nationally. That's why hiring a mental health professional will not only evaluate the victim, the suspect, but also our law enforcement officer. That's the accountability that I'm trying to bring in here, because there's a lot of police officers that don't want to say something, but there's no actual policy that says that he should report it. We're going to change that. We're going to make sure that if you don't report it, guess what? You're going to be found just as guilty as they are. And we're going to make sure that we do that. I need an independent oversight with clergymen and community leaders and health professionals to evaluate our police officers, because that is the issues that we have. When a police officer puts, and I always say this, when a police officer puts his hands on you, okay, it should be because you did a crime and he has reasonable suspicion that you committed a crime and you should go to jail. He has probable cause to make sure that you're going to jail. But he should also give you the opportunity to turn around, place handcuffs on him or her, and go to jail the right way. There's many ways that we need to educate our own citizens that being arrested, there's a process. And the police officer does not, and I want people to understand, the police officer does not have the last word. And I need that. I want to make sure that we educate the public that police officers are not always right. And a way to make sure is to have internal affairs. We cannot have police officers investigating police officers. We need an independent oversight to investigate police officers. And that's how we're going to stop the bad police officers from being on the road.
Right, because I heard that police officers, you guys have a Bill of Rights, right? There's a police officer Bill of Rights, and you're you're held to like a slightly different standard than regular people.
Yes. But the problem is the police officers that are investigating police officers. So if you and I were buddy in a district, and now I'm internal affairs, guess what happens? I'm going to say, "Oh, Sandra, don't worry about it. I got you." You understand? Mm-hmm. That's the problem that we have. It starts a snowball effect at our agency. So then nobody wants to hurt the next person, and that we can't have that. There's no accountability for that. And it starts with the culture of the department. We have to hire good people. So when we hire good people, we have to hire good people to make a difference in our agency. And we cannot have police officers investigating police officers. So I want these people to have nothing to do with police officers, but investigating what the actions of the police officers are, still following the officers' Bill of Rights and going through the respective unions. Mm-hmm. However, we're going to make sure that when this happens, if there's an incident where we have a shooting or a death, this is the transparency that I'm talking about. I would like to have a family member of the victim come and join our investigation to be knowledgeable of what happened, what occurred, because we have to change police work. If police work has not worked in decades, why are we still doing the same police work? Mm-hmm. This is the perfect opportunity right now. It's the perfect opportunity to change police work, to make sure that if it doesn't work, we can fix it again. You understand? And we can make things that do work to make it a positive impact on our law enforcement and for our community.
Right, because the citizens are demanding a level of change, and they're going to get it. I mean, they might not get everything that they're asking for, but it's not going to be the same old, right? But just because this isn't working for a lot of folks, and so they're definitely making some demands and making some changes, which I think is all for the better, right? Because we all can grow, we all can learn, and then and what will you do? Like if you come in and you want to do things a little bit differently, and you can't get buy-in, what is it that you're ready to do if you have officers in your department that's not buying into the Santiago Vazquez vision for the new sheriff?
Well, thank you very much. I am bringing a positive change to our department. Our men and women are great men and women that serve our county, that serve our cities, and serve our airports and ports. And they're good with change. They need change, and they know that our department has definitely been led the wrong way. And by me coming in, and bringing a positive change to them, to our agency, and to our community, because that's going to be important, because I need to make sure that our community has that positive reinforcement of the sheriff, because right now we don't have that, and I tell everybody that the Broward Sheriff's Office is here to serve our community, not the government. Okay? It's not here to serve the government. It's here to serve the community. And that's what we're going to change here. And I want to make sure that it's fair for everyone. And just like you said before, we need to make sure that these contracts that we have are broken up into our small businesses. Because when we break it down to our small businesses, they start to hire our local diverse groups, employees, and that business starts to grow. And guess what? Then we have people from our community that have employment, that we can seek them to have training and education, and it's easier. Let's look for scholarships for our students that are in college. You want to be a police officer? Let's give you a scholarship. These are things. You want to be a firefighter? Let's give you a scholarship. Give you that push to be that first responder. We lost the love of that, and everything right now is negative. And we can't do that. We have to change that negative to a positive outlook, and that's what I am bringing. I'm bringing that to inspire our youth, inspire our community, and inspire our business owners, because I'm endorsed by 4 chambers of commerce, the small business chambers of commerce, the South Florida business chambers of commerce, the women chambers of commerce, and they know that, and the American Bangladesh PAC and DACA. They know that I work with our community, our small convenience stores and our local businesses, and that's what I'm bringing to our agency. Change, a positive change, and we need that for sure.
So I'm going to ask you one more question, and I think I'm going to go ahead and let you wrap it up, right? Okay, so you were talking about how you want to, college students, give them scholarships, do those type of things, right?
Yes.
I teach at Miami-Dade College's School of Justice, right? I teach in the School of Justice, and I teach criminal justice at another school, and I've taught at some other schools. So I'm a professor in the criminal justice.
Well, thank you very much.
So I want to tell you, so I had a student who was finished, got his bachelor's degree. He was getting ready to go into the academy, but he's one of those young men that grew up in one of those over-policed areas, right? And a lot of times when you grow up in over-policed areas, you end up having like way too many traffic citations, because that's usually how it is, right? There's this pretest stop, you're getting pulled over by the cop, you're getting a ticket, on and on, right? Great student, beautiful, wonderful GPA, knows his stuff, but he has 8 traffic tickets, right, from different variations. And I spoke to someone else, and they was like, most likely that person couldn't get hired because they have 8 traffic citations. And again, they come from one of those over-policed communities, and you usually can, like, if you look at it, you can see it was like they were sizing him up because he drives a Charger, or you know what I mean? Like, there's certain cars that cops are going to pull over more than, and I don't, you don't want to all the way act like it's always racially profiled, but there's some of that in that because, for the most part, he's a very good student. Would you or could you do something where somebody that would like that's a really good student, that's from the neighborhood, that would be an asset to that community, consider hiring someone that has 8, the most negative thing about his record is that he has 8 traffic tickets. And I know you guys want people with perfect driving records, so I don't even have to work with BSO because I have probably 8 traffic tickets too. But I'm saying, what would you do? Would you consider hiring someone like that might have something that's not traditionally what it is that BSO is looking for?
Absolutely. And do you know why? I've worked with some felons that are coming out of jail now. And I tell them, listen, this is your best opportunity right now. You can come out of jail and go do whatever you want, or you can come out of jail and change your life. Do you want to change your life? Yes. And I always hear that. Yes. Okay. So let's go change your life. I find out what their skill set is. We get them their license to get a business. Then after that, we get them a contract to work a business, to do their kin, and we start them up. Just because you messed up in life, and we all are messed up. We're not perfect.
But
Okay?
he might not have messed up. I think they kind of profiled him. You know, they pull you over with that. You don't have a light above your license plate. Your tits too dark, and the music was too loud. Like
Right.
that's really just
Right.
you know, I don't want to call it police harassment or nothing like that, but like he really didn't. He didn't rob nobody. He didn't beat up his girlfriend. He
Right.
didn't steal anything out of Walmart. He literally just kept getting pulled over because he has one of them cars that you know some
Right.
like to
And
pull
that
over. And he,
right. And
he lives in a high crime area.
right. And that should not be acceptable in any way, shape, or form. Police officers should not be profiling.
You know they do
and
that, and people's
and
lives are affected by it. And so what can we do to help
and
him?
you're right. Yes, and you're right. And that used to be called a pretextual stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that is no longer, it is illegal now. You can't do that. And I'm glad because that did hurt a lot of the minorities like me and minorities like you. And this is why I say that's no longer going to be an issue with me. As long as your license is valid while we are there, listen, we've all made mistakes. I myself have gotten a traffic citation. Okay. So, so I know the issues. And I know when you see those police lights in back of you, you get nervous. Okay. You do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the compassion comes into play. That's where the temperament of the police officer comes in. The understanding has to come in. And we as police officers, and I will tell you, one day I got in trouble as a police officer because I would pull people over and tell them, okay, you're speeding. Let me see your license registration, go through the process. And I would say, is your mom still alive? Yes. Okay, well, go get your mom flowers and I will not write you a ticket. Would you do that? And they would look at me and go, oh, yes, of course. I said, okay, thank you very much. And my administrators did not take that kindly. And the problem is, that's the discretion that we have as police officers.
Right.
Okay? That's the discretion that we should have as police officers, the compassion and the understanding. As your sheriff, that's the compassion and understanding that I'm going to bring to every member of our agency. Because the evaluation, we can not only have an evaluation in the beginning of our career, expect to have 30 years of career and not have another evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
Right.
We're hurting people.
Yeah.
So we need to have annual evaluations and or sub-annual, semi-annual evaluations, but we need to focus on that. When it comes to hiring, this is good men and women of our community. That should not be something that should disqualify him. That should not be something that should hurt him or his family. So will I stop that from happening? Absolutely. Because when you have someone that works so hard to get a bachelor's degree, someone that works so hard to feed his family, working 50, 60 hours a week, that person deserves something better. A better way, a better quality of life. And that's what I'm going to bring as the next sheriff of Broward County. Better quality of life for our men and women of Broward County. Yes. And for our community.
Yes, and I definitely want to thank you because I'm sure like some of those people who you didn't give that ticket to, they truly appreciate it because believe it or not, one traffic ticket can totally destroy a family's budget, right? And it can Absolutely. Really, and I mean, like if they got to pay like a $100, I don't know how much those tickets are, but like $150 or $200 ticket, that they went to work probably all week and didn't make $200, right? So that can be extremely disruptive to someone's family if they have to pay that traffic ticket. So I'm sure a lot of people are just like, I would rather pay $19.99 for some flowers than, whatever the price of that traffic ticket is.
Right. Now I'm going to give you something. The reason the cities like for you to receive citations, mm-hmm. that's all these red light cameras and everything there, is because they get a portion of every citation.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's profitable. That's the city profiting off the person. And I will have a stop to that because I don't believe in that. And I don't want that here. Yeah. Now, you're causing reckless and you're causing something like that. Yeah. That's different.
Yeah, we're not saying driving 90 miles an hour, but we're not saying driving 90 miles an hour, but definitely, sometimes people, it's just like a little too fast. You might have the light was yellow and it turned red, something like that, right? You know, you just kind of, the officer can use some sort of discretion instead of like literally just sending that person's family finances into a tailspin because of one traffic citation.
Right, exactly. And that's why I say we need to work together with the state attorney's office, with the clerk of court, and the defense attorney, so we can start lowering these fines. This is ridiculous how the fines are, and I'm totally opposed on a lot of the citations.
Yeah, I'm sure the Tickler-Kinnick lawyers are going to be mad at you. They'll be like, listen, you're trying to mess my money up, sir. But all right, so do your closing statements. I'm not putting any time limits on you. And tell the people why they should vote for you. And then also tell them how they can get in touch with you, how they can donate, how they can volunteer, and when your election is.
Well, thank you. As sheriff, I will give you a department of which not to only be proud of, but to trust in and utilize as a resource for a better Broward. Today, we make our community a safe and protected environment for our children, our elders, minorities, the LGBTQ community, and all citizens. I want a sheriff's office that inspires confidence and not fear, that saves lives and not takes lives. I am proud to be your Democratic candidate for a positive change to law enforcement for Broward County. And thank you very much. And I need your vote on August 18th. And my name is Santiago Vazquez. And you can go to my website, www.bso2020. I kept it simple. And we need volunteers and we need donations to make this happen. And most importantly, we need you to care for Broward County, because I believe in better and I believe in Broward. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Sandra. It's been my pleasure. We will make a change for Broward County, for a positive change as your next positive change of the agency. I am Santiago Vazquez. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You as well. Take care. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.